T-minus 3.5 minutes until launch. Standing by for the initiation of the auto sequence start for the terminal portion of the countdown.
Will be active at T-minus 3 minutes.
Verified mission time set to minus 180 at T-minus 3 minutes, 10 seconds.
Mark, 3 minutes until launch.
Copy, auto sequence start.
Control is transferred to CSOE.
Copy, we have control to CSOE.
ODM bus voltages and currents nominal.
Roger that, elect 1.
VTSO is open.
Copy, VTSO open.
All of the launch pad functions now in control of this automatic sequencing. Everything is green. The range is green. 2 minutes and 18 seconds until launch.
Charging. And we'll be at T-minus 2 minutes on my mark. Mark.
2 minutes and counting.
EHS actuator slew test initiated.
Copy, slew test. And we'll be at T-minus 1 minute 30 seconds on my mark. Mark.
Everything continues to proceed normally. Antares and Cygnus are both go for launch.
Preliminary.
1 minute, 20 seconds until liftoff.
Copy. Berlin Mox tank press. T-minus 1 minute on my mark. Mark.
Preliminary fuel tank pressurization has started.
Copy. We have prelim fuel tank press start.
T-minus 40 seconds and counting.
T-minus 30 seconds. Mark.
T-minus 20 seconds, standing by for engine ignition sequencing.
T-minus 10 seconds. And mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And we have ignition.
Attitude and TVC are nominal.
Core pressures are nominal.
Liftoff confirmed. Antares and the SS Gene Cernan now bound for the International Space Station. Arcing out to the southeast, approaching the 1 minute mark into flight.
We've throttled back up to full power, 100% operation. T plus 1 minute, we're through max Q, attitude remains nominal. All main engine parameters look good at this point.
Core pressures are nominal.
Core pressures remain nominal. Attitude looks nominal, very modest steering through max Q.
Antares now passing through the area of maximum dynamic pressure on the vehicle. Everything looking great. 1 minute, 35 seconds into the flight.
Still operating nominally at 100% power. Attitude remains good. All vehicle avionics and power systems are nominal at this point.
Less than 2 minutes to go in first stage performance.
Operating at 100% thrust.
Core pressures are nominal.
Core pressures look good. T plus 2 minutes. TVC and attitude remain nominal at this point. Very little TVC steering.
This animation generated by real-time telemetry from orbital ATK. 2 minutes, 20 seconds into the flight.
GNC attitude is nominal.
Core pressures are nominal.
Core pressures are nominal. Roughly 1 minute for main engine cutoff. T plus 230. Power systems still look good. Engine's still at full power. We've started the slow throttle ramp to maintain axial acceleration limits.
Approaching the 3 minute mark into the flight, about 30 seconds of powered flight on the first stage remaining.
We've now throttled back to 55% power. Roughly 30 seconds from MECO. Power systems are good. TVC position adjusted for shutdown. Attitude remains nominal.
3 minutes, 20 seconds into the flight. Standing by for main engine cutoff on the first stage.
Main engine still look good. Attitude is nominal. And we have MECO, main engine cutoff on stage 1. PSS is disabled. We have stage 1 separation.
Stage 1 separation coming with Antares at an altitude of 67 miles, velocity of almost 9,000 miles an hour.
Getting some telemetry dropouts.
About 10 seconds away from fairing separation. Coming up on the 5 minute mark into the flight, everything continues to proceed normally. As you can see, the upper stage of the Cygnus of the Antares rocket has ignited. Stage 2 burnout and orbital insertion, the initial orbital insertion, scheduled at the 7 minutes 6 second mark into the flight. 2 minutes later, Cygnus will separate from the upper stage. 5 minutes, 20 seconds into the flight. Everything looking right down the pike as Antares is delivering the Cygnus resupply craft and 7,400 pounds of supplies and science experiments, beginning a 2-day journey to the International Space Station. Liftoff occurring at the end of the 5 minute window today at 7:19 and 51 seconds a.m. Eastern Time. Everything, all the parameters and the attitude of the upper stage, all in line, everything looking great at the 6 minute mark. About 60 seconds to go in the operation of the second stage of the Antares rocket. Good stage 2 attitude reported from the range control center at Wallops. The upper stage roll control system performing as advertised at the 6-minute 45-second mark into the flight. About 10 seconds until stage 2 burnout. And the upper stage now has completed its job for the day. Cygnus now at an altitude of 121 miles, moving almost 17,000 miles an hour. In its preliminary orbit, spacecraft separation is scheduled about a minute and a half from now. Eight minutes into the flight, everything looking great. We're in a coast phase right now. Spacecraft separation is scheduled less than a minute from now. Eight minutes, 30 seconds into the flight. A true course so far for the Cygnus resupply craft. Orbital ATK delivering a perfect launch so far. Liftoff time once again came at the end of the 5-minute window at 7:19 and 51 seconds a.m. Eastern Time. We're standing by for spacecraft separation. Spacecraft separation now confirmed. The Antares upper stage is in a collision avoidance maneuver to make sure that it is well away from Cygnus. Cygnus now, the SS Gene Cernan, in its preliminary orbit, beginning a 2-day trek to the International Space Station after a flawless launch from Pad 0A at the Mid-Atlantic Regional Spaceport at Wallops Island, Virginia. And as you can see in the Range Control Center, handshakes all the way around as Orbital ATK has delivered successfully the Cygnus resupply craft to its preliminary orbit. It took 9 minutes and 6 seconds for Cygnus to reach its preliminary orbit. The 2-stage Antares rocket lifting off at 7:19 and 51 seconds a.m. Eastern Time at the end of the 5-minute window available today on this, the second launch attempt following yesterday's scrub. This is Mission Control Houston. You are looking at the Orbital ATK Mission Control Center in Dulles, Virginia. It's all theirs now for the next 2 days until we move into joint operations with this team, with the flight control team here in Houston, as Cygnus will arrive in the neighborhood of the International Space Station. With us here on console in Houston, Amanda Davis, the Orbital ATK Director of Program Management. And Amanda, from this point on, in the early phase of Cygnus's trek through low Earth orbit, what will this flight control team in Dulles now be doing over the course of the next few hours?
So the first thing this team will do will start to power up all the systems on Cygnus and check them out. So now that the launch vehicle team is completed their work for today, this team now gets to take over and start doing their initial checkouts. And they'll be checking out all telemetry, the health and status, and about an hour and a half from now we'll have the solar array deployment, and then they'll start checking to make sure those are collecting the power from the sun and start charging up the batteries on Cygnus.
And as Amanda mentioned, that solar array deploy comes in a two-stage fashion. It will begin at about the 1 hour, 30-minute mark into the flight. The planned start of the solar array deploy will be in the neighborhood of about 7:48 a.m. Central Time, 8:48 a.m. Eastern Time. Should take about 30 minutes to complete, and we will be resuming our coverage at 7:45 a.m. Central, 8:45 a.m. Eastern Time to bring you all of that activity as Cygnus begins its journey to deliver 7,400 pounds of supplies and science experiments to the International Space Station. And so with that, we'll wrap up our coverage of the first phase of today's activities, the flawless launch of the SS Gene Cernan, the Cygnus resupply craft that lifted off at 7:19 and 51 seconds a.m. Eastern Time from Wallops Island, Virginia. The Antares rocket, operated by Orbital ATK, lifted off, arced out to the southeast from the launch site in a perfect 9-minute and 6-second delivery of Cygnus to its preliminary orbit. As mentioned a moment ago, we will be back on the air a little over an hour from now at 7:45 a.m. Central Time, 8:45 a.m. Eastern Time, to bring you the deployment of Cygnus's solar arrays as it begins its journey to the International Space Station and an arrival for grapple and installation on the Earth-facing port of the Unity module on Tuesday morning. For now, we'll wrap up our coverage. This is Mission Control Houston.